Today, I'm gonna build and test 5 Lego siege weapons against a giant Lego castle. And we're gonna see which ones were the most effective at breaking down castle defenses back in the olden times. The times of old. The history. First, we need to build the castle. This is the Lego Lion Knights castle, set number 10305, and it has a ton of hidden features. So we gotta build it up. I got this used, so. As you can see, here we have our giant castle. Some of the cool features in the set include a lowering castle gate, a drawbridge trap into the dungeon, a raisable ladder, and even a working grain mill powered by a water wheel, which is actually super cool. Plus this cool custom tower in the back that was built by someone at Bricks and Minifigs. Whoops, I broke it. The interior of the castle is also fully furnished, which will be super great when we actually go to test our first weapon. The first siege weapon I want to build is a Trebuchet, which was a type of catapult that used a counterweight and mechanical advantage to launch heavy rocks at the walls of the castle. This is our base, as you can see, and I just built this up pretty simply. It's got a single worm gear ratio back here to make it so it spins slower. Obviously, they didn't really have motors back in the day, but for our purposes, this will work great. For the Trebuchet, we're gonna first need to build 2 supports that come up to hold the fulcrum in place. To do that, we're gonna start with some Technic bricks. We can kind of bring those up in a triangle shape. We're just gonna need to extend these to make them a bit longer. Now we just need to connect both of these pieces up here with some sort of keep them together. Now we have the structure that our giant lever is going to swing from. And we've also integrated these Technic pieces right here, which is where we're gonna put the fulcrum point. Now we gotta build the giant swinging arm that sits on here. I'm gonna grab yet a few more Technic bricks because they lock together really well. And we need this thing to be strong because there's gonna be a bit of weight on the end. And we can just lock those together with some pins until we get our desired length. And then I'm just gonna take some plates to cover this up so that it doesn't look like it's made of Technic. I'm trying to build this out of like grays and like earthy colors, so we got our brown for the wood, we got our dark gray for like stone parts, because I wanted to look like it was built back in the day, and that's all they had to use back then. So the next step is to attach our lever to our fulcrum point right here. The problem is we need to center this, and right now there's room for 1 stud of thickness. So what I'm gonna do is take a couple of these little disc pieces and snap them on using these Technic half pin connectors. Just like this. That'll give us a little more surface area so it doesn't wobble around, and we can do one more on the other side like this. And then if we just grab some frictionless pins here, we'll take this guy and snap it right on here like this. The important thing to keep in mind about connecting this is we want to connect it with the long side over here, and we're going to attach the counterweight to the short side, and that'll give us a mechanical advantage, meaning the weight won't have to fall very far, and this side will give us a lot more force on the object we're swinging. But in order for this to work, we have to add a counterweight to this side. There's a few ways we can do this. Essentially, we just need something that's heavy and doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So I'm gonna use dead batteries. These are heavy enough, and if we stack them just right, we can fit them in a little Lego box that will attach to this thing. And then, to connect it to this, we simply have to slide this little pin in, and does it work? Yes, it does. Might need to be slightly higher up, actually. It's all about the experimentation, guys. Yeah, that's it. For this Trebuchet in particular, I'm not going to actually do the whole string thing on the end. Usually you'd attach a rope to the rock or stone you're flinging. But in this case, since I want to be able to aim, I'm just gonna build a little cup right here, and then we can put our ammo in it. The last thing I gotta add to this is a release mechanism. And for that, I wanna add a simple Technic brick to this top part here, because now when we pull this down, it lines up just perfectly with this beam here. So technically, we can just add a little piece like this, and then we can put our little Technic pin right in there like so. Which means our Trebuchet is ready to go. We can test it out. Our first challenger approaches, the Trebuchet. The Trebuchet can drive and move forward, so we're gonna move it over to the castle. You can see here we've set up our castle defenses, and the rating system for this is gonna be pretty simple. We're gonna count the amount of pieces that fall off the castle or that fall out of place, any minifigures that fall over, and so the more pieces that break or that are knocked over is going to increase the score of the siege weapon. So we're gonna load this guy up. All we gotta do is put our little pin inside like that. And then when we pull the pin out, this thing should fly. So we'll load our rock in there. 3, 2, 1. Hey, we missed. Okay, we didn't do much damage with that, but it's also not shooting super hard. We're gonna use a bigger rock. The hard thing too is with the proportions we're using with this guy, the scale of these rocks in weight isn't as high as like the strength of this castle wall. So we're gonna see if we can knock down anything at all, and then we're gonna shoot some fireballs. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey, there we go. We breached a part of the wall. What did we knock over? This piece in the back here. So our Trebuchet is working. It honestly could be a little bit stronger. I think we're gonna, oh, totally just knocked over the wall there. Don't do this at home, but we're gonna test out some fireballs. Let's pull this guy back, put our fireball in there.
Don't do this at home. Ooh, sparks. Okay, that obviously didn't do too much. Let's try this guy. Okay, our fireballs aren't really doing much but smoking. Oh God. Yeah, so the fireballs did nothing, but still look cool. But as you can see, even with the Trebuchet, we've done some pretty good damage. We've knocked over this piece. So there's one piece that fell off. Also in the back here, as you can see, we knocked over a person. So that's one fatality. We also got several rocks actually past the wall, which is cool. So that's 3 inside. Didn't really knock over much, except for this part of the castle wall, which goes right here. So that's 1, 2 pieces. Oh wait, we also broke the tree and this guy. So that's 4 pieces plus 1 casualty. So I'd give the Trebuchet a solid 4.5 rating. Not bad, but there's definitely better siege machines that actually work and are more powerful. On to the next build. Next up, I want to build a battering ram. Now the battering ram was specifically designed to break down the doors to the castle so that they could breach inside. It's basically just a heavy weighted log, usually with a metal tip, that could be swung using momentum by a group of soldiers to break down the wall. And for ours, we're gonna use it not only against the castle door, but also against the walls of the castle to see what we can do. First up, we gotta build the battering ram. And this basically just needs to be a big weight, so I'm gonna use more batteries. So we lock together a couple of these long 2x2 plates. We can put some brackets on the side like this. And not only does it give us just enough room for our battery, but it also lets us build on the sides. We want to make this pretty long so it'll actually fit inside of here. So probably something like that. I feel really weird loading up a bunch of batteries in this thing, but it does actually work as a weight source, so. Okay, and for this top part, I'm gonna use another layer of brackets, but I'm gonna see if we can actually fit 2 batteries in here. Will 2 batteries fit like this? Will 2 batteries fit in here? There we go, okay. So now I'm just gonna cover this up with some plates and then we can seal these batteries into here. As you can see, now we have a heavy battering ram. So the nice thing about this, it should be heavy enough to get some momentum going and crush the door. But we still need a pointy tip on the front, and then we need to bulk up the sides a little bit to make it a bit rounder. I'm just gonna use some sloped bricks and kind of build up something that looks like it would do damage. Hey. I'm just gonna build a few more layers of plates on the sides to kind of bulk it up, make it a bit bigger.
I'm using some of these cheese slopes here to kind of round out the shape to make it look more like a log. And then on a few of the areas, I'm actually gonna use gray slopes to make it look like metal bands going all the way around. Just to kind of add some extra details, make it a little less bland. Here we have our finished battering ram. As you can see, we have 3 handles for the guys to hold on to, and it's very heavy. Literally just snap that piece in half. So now we need to build up a little assembly, a little box that this thing could sit inside of, and then we'll hang it from these Technic pieces I installed so that it can swing back and forth. So I'm just gonna build up a simple little frame out of Technic bricks that comes up, and then we'll add some shields to the side of this to protect the soldiers on the inside. Let's throw this in here. Might be just a tad low. There we go. The nice thing about having this worm gear ratio in here as well, it means that all of our axles are locked so this thing won't actually move because of the momentum. But as you can see, we have a working battering ram.
The last thing to do for this would just be to add a few details and cover it up with some armored wooden plates. And that'll also shield all the guys on the inside that are supposed to be swinging this thing from arrows and other projectiles. Introducing the battering ram on wheels. As you can see, it's pretty big. They'd be hard pressed to actually destroy this thing with arrows. As you can see here, we didn't need that piece. As you can see, I put on here these little sidewalls, which pop off like this. So now you can see the mechanism underneath. So there'd be a bunch of guys in there that would basically just swing this thing back and forth to break down the walls. But in order to test this thing efficiently, we're gonna need to build some walls kind of apart from the castle. So we're gonna need to build that. Now, as you can see, we have our little rampart walls built up in the front here. Now what I want to do is raise up this castle about 6 or 7 bricks tall and build a little mountain out of dark bluish gray. I think since our siege weapons are getting just a little bit bigger, that'll be cool. Now we can finally test out the battering ram. Here we go. Drive forwards to the castle gates. I think this actually might work pretty well. I'm just gonna simply start out by using the same momentum of the battering ram. So we're gonna drive right up, we're gonna pull it back, and, oh wow. Okay, I might have built it a little gentle. Here, let's try it on one of these brick walls, because that worked a little too well. All right, here we go. Pull it back. How many swings did it take? Oh, we're getting there. It's working. Yeah, there we go. Wow, okay, this thing's working really, really well, actually. I was just expecting it to kind of tap the walls. I did build them like a little, I mean, we just wanted to see if this would work, so I didn't build them like super sturdy, but they are interlocked together. It also looks really, really cool. All right, so that's 1 point for the battering ram and 0 points for the castle, because now all the defenses are down. Let's take a look at the damage here. As you can see, lots of damage. This is kind of hard to count, but we got 1, 2, this together, 3, 4, 5, and then we got 2 casualties. So 5.5 for each of the casualties, just carry the 1. I'd give the battering ram a rating of 6. This thing is actually really, really cool. Let's build the next one. The next siege weapon I want to build is a ballista, which is essentially just a giant crossbow on wheels that they would drive up to the castle and use it to fire giant arrows at the castle walls. Luckily for ours, we already have the wheels and the driving function. We just need to build the crossbow and mount it on top. The first thing I'm going to build is a track to actually guide the arrow. And for that, so I'm just gonna basically connect a bunch of these little 2x3s. This will make up the main base of the crossbow. Now that we got this, we gotta line the sides with some bricks here. That'll help it lock together, and then we'll put a layer of tiles in the middle so that the arrow doesn't catch on anything when it's flying. We also need to put tiles on the tops of this so we can pull back the string and set it right behind this brick right here. I'm also gonna pop these 2 1x4 bricks in the front, and that'll start the bow shape that we're gonna build later. All right, now we have our track done. So now we need to make the bow in the front, and we're gonna give that a little bit of flexion. For that, I'm gonna use 1x4 bricks. And the reason I'm gonna use these is because if we arrange it in such a manner as this, we have a little bit of flex, and that's exactly what we need. Because we're gonna power this with rubber bands, but still, we want it to be strong enough to actually pull back and not snap. Make it really easy. Perfect, there we go. Now for our rubber band power, what I'm gonna do is take this guy. This is actually really easy. I think we can just put this on like this, and does that work? Wow, that actually does work pretty well. And then you just pop it up, and the thing should fire.
Now we gotta build the actual arrow for this thing. So I built up this little prototype. It's just made using a few axles, and then on the end, I put this little right angle Technic piece so that it'll actually catch the rubber band. What I'm gonna do is just kind of bulk this up and put this piece on the end like so, and then we can thread on a bunch of these little Technic 1x1s to cover up the axle. Put this guy right on the end like that. And this should be able to slide right back in here, bring it back all the way, and knock it down like that. And now, if we push this up, it should launch. And it does launch.
That's perfect. Now, I wanna add 2 more things to this. Number 1 is a release mechanism. And so I've already pre-installed a few of these little Technic bricks, and my plan is just to take
some sort of piece like this. If we grab a piece like this, we can kind of snap those together like that.
So we'll put this guy in like this, and then slide an axle to the side, something like that, so we can actually hinge it. It holds it just enough on there until we pull this back, which will push it over the rail, and let it go. The last mechanism we need to build into this is a simple ratcheting winch at the back. It's actually really easy to build a ratchet. You just need an axle and a Technic brick. Then on the other side, you snap in a gear, and then over here, we'll put the little stopper. So then we just need to put constant pressure on this piece to push against the gear, and that is where we put another piece like that, and a Lego rubber band, which wraps around it. Because that pulls it over there, we can spin it one way, wind it up, but we can't spin it back the other way because this piece catches right here. Then we can take some sort of winch, then all we gotta do is throw on some sort of handle, and we can mount this guy onto the back of our ballista. Next up, we gotta mount the ballista to the trolley here. And since I added a Technic piece on the bottom of this, we should be able to just snap this down. I'm just gonna shore this up a little bit and add a few little plate details, and we should be good to test this thing out against the castle defenses. For the next build up, we have the ballista. As you can see, this thing is really powerful. Check it out. I've added a few simple details as well as eye protection because I'm a little scared. As you can see here, we have our little worm gear to angle it up and down. And that's actually a really, really simple mechanism, but it allows us to control where we're actually firing. To load this thing, we're gonna first release our little ratchet so we can pull out our winch. Once we have our winch pulled out, we can hook it on to the rubber band. And that's the cool thing about this, is it's actually completely manual. So what they would do now is use their little ratchet and pull back the bow with it, which is really, really cool. And this actually works. So if we just pull that back all the way here, as you can see, we're getting some real flexion on the front here. We pull this back all the way, and that ratchet works really, really well. So then we release our little hook here and press this right in place like that. As soon as we pull up this lever, this should release our rubber band. Then we can load in our ammunition right here, and this just slides all the way back. So we are good to shoot this thing. Let's see what damage it does in 3, 2, 1. Oh. Dang, that really took out that wall. We lost a few pieces there, wow. Okay, this thing has some power. We can actually do some serious damage here, let's see. wanna try and hit the U-block crash test dummy right off his little stand there. So I'm gonna bring it down. Perfect shot, perfect shot. And we have a casualty. You can definitely see why the Ballista was such a feared weapon back in the day. This is just like, I think my favorite build so far. You know what, I'm gonna call it there. Let's count up the pieces that broke off. We got this guy, we got this guy. This guy got a flag, nice. We also got our U-block, and this guy as well. We got a shield, there we go. We got some blocks in the back here. We also have this, 8.5. So we're gonna give our Ballista a rating of 8.5, which is pretty good. And this one is just so much fun. Like the mechanisms that I got to integrate into this, they're pretty cool, but they're nothing like what we're gonna build next. Guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you can become a member of the Brick Science Stud Army, because I upload Lego projects for the whole family every couple weeks, and you don't wanna miss them. I don't know where this piece went. All right, let's build the next one. For this next weapon, we're gonna need our cool shades, because we're gonna build a cannon, because cannons are cool. I have a headache. As you can see, Lego already makes a cannon piece like this, and what's nice about it is if you throw in a little 1x1 round piece, you can actually launch it. And that works pretty well. But we're gonna supersize this with a really powerful spring and make it launch big boulders. So for that, I'm gonna take the spring out of this Nerf gun because this is pretty powerful. Aha. There we go. Check it out, this thing is pretty springy. I think I'm gonna start by building the barrel and then we'll throw this thing in there, see if it works. I wanna make the inside of the barrel out of these little Technic lift arms. And if we snap together 3 of these, like that, and we do that on all 4 sides, we should be able to connect these on the outside and make something pretty strong. Half the time when I make these things, I have no idea where I'm going with it. I just kinda come up with a game plan, and if that doesn't work the first time, I come up with another game plan. That's basically what inventing is. You just try one thing, if that doesn't work, you try the next thing. If that doesn't work, then you cry. Okay, so now that we have 4 of these, we need to connect them on the outsides. I think what we can do is just grab a couple of maybe these little things. And what's nice about these is we can hook them in the side like this, and if we add a few pins, we can get a right angle connection like this. Check it out, now we have this guy. But let's see, we can fit our spring inside it, which is great, and we can fit our plunger, which, we can't fit our plunger. Please hold. We can fit our new plunger. Let's do this. As you can see, we have a little 1x1 gap in there. So our red piece, which is our plunger, will fit through, but the spring will not. We need to add 1 piece back here so that it doesn't just launch out, which means we can launch things like that. Let's try this brick. And it has some power, let's go. Now we have our base for the cannon. So what we're gonna do is mount it to here and actually make it look like a cannon by building up a case around our barrel using plates. There's a really cool technique we can do. We can just take some of these little jumper plates, put them on the hinges, and then put the hinges in between, kind of like this. And what that'll allow us to do is get the right angle, and the gaps between the pieces shouldn't be too big. So I'm basically just gonna build a cylinder all the way around. We can connect it to this guy. As you can see, I've wrapped the cannon around our barrel. We don't wanna look down the barrel, because that's bad. What I wanna do is just mount it on this guy, and we'll be good to go.
I figured out one more thing I want to add to this. I'm going to add a box to hold the rocks on the back. That'll not only balance out the weight just a little bit on the back, but it'll also allow it to carry the rocks.
Here, as you can see, we have our completed cannon. To be historically correct, I don't think they had cannons during this time period. Actually, I don't know. I really did not do any research, but this is my cannon, so I could say they did. Pop a rock inside the front of this and pull it back. Let's see what we can do here. Ooh, totally knocked over that guy on top. This thing's pretty powerful, actually. Let's see. It's designed really well. It never falls apart. I thought it'd be a little bit more powerful than the Ballista, but I guess it's not so far. We just gotta get like 1 good shot. Let's load our rock in there. Push it back. This is the one, guys. This is gonna do it in 3, 2, 1. We lost our rocks on the back. This cannon is not ideal. No! Guys, this did not work. Okay, that's, what a disappointment. You know, the way that a regular cannon works is you would have some sort of explosive, but since I'm trying to use a spring from a Nerf gun, this just did not work out very well. So let's count up the damage. 1 guy. One guy up here, one casualty. That's like half a point. Well, for the cannon, it literally did not do anything, and then it completely broke on the inside, so our mechanism's completely trashed. I'm gonna have to give this one a half a point for the casualty, but we didn't break any pieces off. You were good to me for about 4 minutes. On to the next one, I guess. For this next siege weapon, I want to build something custom that's never been done before. And so my idea is to build a giant swinging hammer with the counterweight system at the bottom, and I think it'll be heavy enough to roll right up to the castle and smash through the walls. So for this one, we're gonna bring back our giant trebuchet, since we're gonna utilize the main frame of this to actually make it work. And then what I'm gonna do is remove our giant lift arm here. We're gonna turn this into a hammer. First, we can remove this counterweight from the bottom, because I know we're not gonna need that. And since we have the strong arm already, we just need to build a giant Lego box at the top of this that's gonna act as our hammer. And instead of using 2x4 bricks, I'm gonna use 1x4s stacked together because they have this extra little line in the middle. And that should hopefully give us a little bit more plastic in there to make it heavier. I'm also going to use a big boy battery, and that'll definitely add some weight. Aha! So if we link this guy, something like this. One thing we're gonna notice is when we bring this down, the whole thing jumps, which is not what we want. We actually want to balance it so that when this weight's over here, the back end isn't gonna fly backwards. So what I'm gonna do is build what's called a counterweight system. We're gonna use these two gear ratios here. And what's nice about these is if we integrate them smoothly into here, we can actually drive these little pinion systems because they have these gear racks on them. So if we have this thing here, which represents our hammer, as you can see, when the hammer swings forward, this gear spins backwards on the bottom like that. And so if we have a weight attached to the back of this pinion and we rotate the hammer forwards, it's going to push our weight backwards to counter the hammer moving. At least that's the idea. Again, this is an original idea. So I'm just gonna try and integrate this into this and see if we can make it work. But we're gonna need to build 2 more weights for each of these pinions. Quick tip when you're building things that slide, you obviously want to add tiles on the bottom, but you want to make sure you don't align them so the seams are right next to each other, because what can happen is the end of whatever you're trying to slide can actually catch on that. So what you want to do is offset one of them like this, and so now whatever you're sliding has the option to slide over on the side that doesn't have the gap. So it makes sliding mechanisms a lot easier and a lot smoother. And this guy should slide on top of it like so. Then we just got to install these guys right here to actually spin them backwards.
As you can see, I'm building up these stanchion support arms out of Technic bricks, and I've separated them by exactly 2 plates, which means we can take a Technic lift arm and actually lock these together on the backside, and these will not be able to separate, so it makes this guy really, really strong. I'm also going to use a triangle shape, like a truss, because that is the strongest shape, and if we put that on there like that, that means this guy will be really strong. So then we just have to attach our elastic band to both of these guys, and when we pull it forward, watch what happens to those counterweights. They both go backwards, and balance it out, just like that. And then we should be good to go. We can actually test this guy out.
Introducing the faux hammer. That's what I'm deciding to call it because it's really, really cool. As you can see, we have this beautiful counterweight system on the bottom that shoots these back when the hammer flings forward. And we have this elastic band, which I've tied around here, which is going to make it really, really strong. This top part is also very heavy, so we're gonna test it on this wall first and see what it can do before we make it to the castle. We're gonna pull this back and watch the counterweights do their thing. Ooh, that was so cool. We've already broken some pieces off. What we really want to do is drive it up to the castle and test it on the walls of that. So let's do it. This thing is pretty daunting, honestly. If I saw a giant siege machine that looked like this, I'd be running the other way. Maybe it could go a little faster, but I think this is gonna work pretty well. Let's see if we can make it over this bump here. And we can. All right, it's all terrain. The counterweight system on the bottom of this was a really cool idea. And ideally there'd be some sort of winch system with the release mechanism to actually do this, but we don't quite have one of those. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, there we go. Whoa. Whoa. I'd say so far this one, the one that's custom, is actually doing the most damage. But that's also because it's the heaviest. I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer. And here we go. Dang, literally we could just keep going and destroy this whole thing. This heavy weighted hammer, while it's probably not the most practical, is one of the coolest siege weapons I've ever seen. I'm gonna say we've knocked over well over 100 pieces, so this one I'm giving a rating of 100. I know it's not the most practical thing, but I came up with it by myself and I'm very proud of that fact. I think this would look really cool in like life size. I don't know how you'd like crank it back, but I mean, they built crazier things back in the day, so. honestly, they can figure it out. Huge thank you guys for watching. Check out one of these 2 videos popping up on the screen because YouTube thinks you'll enjoy them. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. And I gotta clean all this up, so I'll talk to you in the next one. See ya.